Good morning, everybody. It's Sunday. It's week 8. It's the Blitz. We will be back here in about 30 seconds. And we are back, and I'd like to welcome everybody to the Sunday Blitz. Once again, I said it's week 8, man. Week 8 already halfway through the damn season. It's crazy that we're already this far. We're going to be talking playoffs here very, very soon. On my left with me, as always, my man, Jeff. Jeff, how are we doing today?
Hey, I'm doing well, brother. Always great to see you guys in the morning. And did you just say playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me?
I have quite a few leagues like that. Luckily, I have more that are. Down below, we got my man, Joe. Joe, how are we doing this morning?
Ready to rock and roll, man. It's fantasy-wise, you're in the second half of your league regular season at this point, whether you're playing a 13, 14-game league. So, yeah, it's time. The bye weeks, injuries are real. Second half of the season, fantasy-wise, it's getting down to crunch time.
Gotta love it, gotta hate it, especially if you're falling from behind. And if you are, then luckily you found us just in time, and we're ready to get you guys all sorted out with your lineups today. Ask us who you want to start, who you want to sit in the comments below. Make sure you're asking on YouTube and Facebook if you're watching us on Twitter, which I know a lot of you guys do, or X, or whatever the hell they called it this week. You're going to have to hop on those because we can't see those questions, unfortunately. So we're going to go ahead and kick this thing off. Joe, what do you got for our injury report this morning?
Yeah, let's do it. So you guys threw me all off. I was ready for this last night on DFS, and now I'm behind. But it actually ended up being a little bit of a quieter week, I think, this week, injury-wise. Looking at it real quick, quarterbacks, we kind of know where we're at there. Daniel Jones is out, reported yesterday. Sounds like they're targeting a Week 10 return for him. So that's Tyrod Taylor once again for those New York Giants in the New York game today against the Jets. Trevor Lawrence is questionable, but he is on track to start. And Kyler Murray, kind of an interesting one. He is now deemed officially 100% healthy and available and ready to go, but he was not activated this week. So it'll be another Dobbs week for Arizona home against Baltimore. Be interesting to see how that situation plays out for Kyler Murray. Deshaun Watson out once again, another PJ Walker week at Seattle. And that's about it for the quarterbacks. Running backs, I'll start with that same game. Cleveland's probably got the most interesting running back situation of the week. Right now, you've got two guys there who are both producing with Kareem Hunt as well as Jerome Ford? Is Jerome his first name? Jerome Ford. Ford's been great. He was tracking doubtful for most of the week, wasn't going to play, would have put Hunt in the starting position by himself, but he's actually recouped the last couple of days a little better. So there's conflicting reports because he's going to go through a pregame warm-up as of 8:27 a.m., and they're going to decide from there, according to Adam Schefter. However, they did elevate Jordan Wilkins off the practice squad yesterday as another running back, which would tell you that he's being elevated for the first time because Ford's not going to play. So that's a big one to see how that shakes out, because that Cleveland running game, regardless of the quarterback, the running game's been very good. It's been very successful, Chubb, Ford, or Hunt. So, definitely keep an eye on who is going to start and get the lion's share of those carries. Miles Sanders is back, but it sounds like he's going to split work with Hubbard this week. So that's a situation to watch. And, that's really it. The only other one I want to hit on is Indianapolis. So Zach Moss has been phenomenal for Indianapolis all year, kind of out of nowhere. Jonathan Taylor's back now. Didn't look great the first couple of weeks. Finally looked better last week. And now Zach Moss looks to be a game time decision, may not play. It looks like this is going to be the first week where Jonathan Taylor really, really, really has a chance to put up an old school Jonathan Taylor type day. So that's something to look forward to. I'll stop it there. The wide receiver stuff, I think, is mostly things that we already know. I think our intelligent fans are already good on wide receiver.
Yeah, Debo's out.
Debo's out.
Still out.
Justin Jefferson still. Tyler Lockett's questionable.
Still dominate.
That was one that I wasn't aware of till this morning. But other than that, yeah, it's pretty clean from a wide receiver perspective.
Does anybody wonder if Deshaun Watson maybe has injured his arm because he can't visit massage parlors anymore? Anyway, well, we'll just go ahead and carry on. And also, there is one also more injury that you forgot right there, and that is my heart. My heart is just broken. I cannot believe that we are in a world without Chandler Bing anymore. Rest in peace, my man. Unbelievable. I just can't believe that is a fact right now and that actually happened. I'm very sad. It's been I wouldn't expect anything like that to affect me at all. But then once it happened, I was like, dude, that's Friends. I grew up on Friends. I mean, I love that show. I still watch it to this day because the writing on that is legendary. My God.
It's timeless. Absolutely.
Yeah. Although he definitely has been a shell of himself the past, I'd say, decade. It definitely hasn't been the same guy, but at least it did look like he was kind of turning that thing around. And man, it's just what a bummer. What a sad thing. With that, we're going to go ahead and get into the questions, guys. We got our buddy at Riff Vinny Lax says, here's one for the fantasy football gurus out there. Better PPR flex option, Josh Jacobs or Jacoby Myers? Joe, what do you think?
Man, I mean, it's really hard to say Myers here because it is Jacobs and everybody's waiting for that 1 week where he's finally going to put up a really good game. So it's hard to sit Jacobs because if that happens and you sit him, you're going to be really pissed at yourself. But if you're really, I mean, it's not even close from a production through 7 weeks perspective. Jacoby Myers has been great for them. Obviously playing second fiddle to Devontae Adams, but he's getting a lot of targets. He's getting red zone targets. He's gotten in the end zone. And Jimmy Garoppolo's back. So, I mean, the brave choice is Jacoby Myers. But it is hard to sit Jacobs. Remind me, they're playing Detroit on Monday night, correct?
Yes.
I mean, a week ago, last week on the Blitz, I would have said Detroit's defense is really good. I probably don't like Jacobs. Baltimore kind of exposed them a little bit. I don't know. I mean, you got to stick with Jacobs, I guess. But if I had some balls, I'd go Myers.
I love it. What do you think here, Jeff?
Well, I think Joe hit on the main point of difference here is that Myers is the second fiddle, so to speak, behind Devontae Adams, and Jacobs is their main guy at running back. So while he hasn't been as productive as we had hoped, he still has that ability. So as we always say, Mike, the tie goes to the running back. So I take Jacobs, but Myers has been good. But to me, I'd feel much better about taking Jacobs.
I think I like Jacobs a lot here, although at the same time, I don't feel like I like him as much as I like Jacoby Myers. Seems to me like he's been getting a lot more done on that offense than Josh Jacobs has. They've been playing from behind more than they've been playing from any kind of position to where they need to run. I do like, but I have to agree with these guys. Even with all those factors being in play, I still have to go with Josh Jacobs because he is the running back. The guaranteed touches are there. Although there aren't as many as I would like there to be, I have to go with the guaranteed volume because that's king. King fantasy football. We got my man at Sam Burger Show. He says, what do you think flex today, Hopkins or Johnson? Jeff, what do you think here?
Are we talking Deontay Johnson? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, sir. Yeah, Deontay Johnson and DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, so I probably before the season started, I would have said Hopkins is a good play even all year round, but he just, for whatever reason, just simply does not fit in that offense. And although the Pittsburgh offense isn't exactly humming, but Johnson is a good talent. He has the potential. And I think, I mean, matchup-wise, they got Jacksonville today, and then who does
Carolina?
Who's Tennessee? Tennessee has Atlanta. So, yeah, but, I mean, either way, it's just they're both at home. It's similar spreads. But I just trust the chemistry that Johnson has more with Kenny Pickett than Hopkins has with whoever the hell is over there in Tennessee, Hank Baba Ganoush, basically.
Well, that's a good point,
from
though.
Malik Willis today.
Yeah, the rookie,
Yeah,
right?
and it'll be a combination of both. We're going to see the first quarterback tandem ever. Not ever. I think they've tried it a few other times too. Joe, what do you got here for us?
Real quick, talking quarterbacks for a second. We all made fun of Tyson Bagent last week, and he gave us the old heave-ho FU on that. So just a real quick shout out to Mr. That's good story. Great to see him get the win last week. I don't even know why I play fantasy football when you just watch Tyson Bagent walk into the league on the day before a game and do that. But that being said, this one is really interesting. You got to think about the fact that it's Willis. I mean, you can't say it's going to be any worse for Hopkins. If anything, Willis maybe gives you a little hope because they weren't getting it done, and Hopkins certainly wasn't getting it done previously with Tannenhill. Deontay Johnson actually had a nice week back last week for Pittsburgh. I would expect him to be decent here. So I would go Johnson this week, but I'll be really curious to see if the Willis move injects maybe a little energy, right? They confirmed yesterday per reports that they told at least Derrick Henry he's not getting traded, so he can stay comfortable. I think I saw the same thing on Hopkins. I'm not 100% sure on Hopkins. New quarterback, rookie, their record's not horrible. It could inject some energy. I'll be curious to see, but for this week, I think Johnson's the safer and got the better floor. I would guess at least 10 points for Johnson, where you can't really be that.
Yeah, I think he's got a better floor and further a better ceiling. I think Kenny Pickett's starting to put a few things together over there. I think with the tandem of him and Pickens, Johnson is going to be able to get 7 to 8 targets per game. And I think that's going to be plenty versus Hopkins, who I think has been seeing roughly 3 to 4. And I just don't really like receivers with new quarterbacks. That said, if you're ever going to have a guy that's going to get a lot of volume is DeAndre Hopkins, because he is probably like a big comfy safety blanket for Will Levis coming out of the locker room. So I think you're going to be about the same either way, but I definitely am going to be taking Johnson for his upside on a team that I think is going to be playing from behind as well and a little bit more involved. I think Tennessee's going to be playing from behind, but I think they'll stick to their game plan. We got at Glomar24 says which two? Michael Gallup, Curtis Samuel, Juwan Jennings, Elijah Moore, or Smith and Jigba? Joe, what do you know? What do you think?
Yeah, this is a good one. So there's a lot going on with these guys right now, right? Like obviously for Seattle, Smith and Jigba scored his first touchdown last week with Metcalf not playing. Now this week, Tyler Lockett's questionable. Metcalf's going to play. Lockett may not be 100% if he plays, so there could be some opportunity there. That's home against Cleveland. Tough matchup. But then, so I would take Elijah Moore out of this immediately. I'm not considering Moore here. And I'm probably got to take Gallup out too, even though I've been a little encouraged with what I've seen with them giving him some targets. So I'm really looking at Samuel, Jennings, and Smith and Jigba. And Jennings, obviously, with Deebo Samuel out, is becoming relevant. Curtis Samuel, though, has been a really good red zone target for Washington and has been getting in the end zone in a lot of targets. Now, the last I saw, Samuel is questionable, so look out for an injury status there. But I think here I'm going – oh, man, this is tough. I think I'm going to go Samuel if he's playing, and – I think I'll give Smith and Jigba another shot. Definitely if Lockett's not playing. If Lockett plays, man, I still almost want to go with him again. I feel like maybe he got some momentum last week and he's going to continue to get the looks. But Juwan Jennings, again, if you're looking for 10 points and you're in a PPR, I like Jennings for like 5 for 50, and they do target him in the red zone too. I'll be curious to hear what you guys think on this one.
Jeff, I liked all that, Joe. What do you got here?
So I'll agree. I mean, Elijah Moore off the bat, I think it is a good take. He's getting a decent amount of targets over there, and they have a decent matchup there in Seattle. And if we're doing it on a DFS standpoint, I'd want to go with like stack wise and do Elijah Moore and Smith and Jigba, but I actually still do like that regardless. So I'm taking those two out of the 5.
I like both of those calls. Smith and Jigba, I think with Lockett as a smash for sure. Like, I'm definitely doing that. Elijah Moore is kind of the intriguing guy for me here because with the gosh dang it, what is the quarterback?
PJ Walker.
Sorry, PJ Walker. I couldn't remember it there for a second. With him at quarterback, he was actually throwing Elijah Moore a lot of targets. So after seeing that last week, and Juwan Jennings also saw a pretty good uptick, but I don't know. I feel like honestly, the two that I'd pick out of here would be Juwan Jennings and Elijah Moore. If Lockett's not playing, then Smith and Jigba over Juwan Jennings, but it's close.
So you guys both went Moore. I didn't go Moore, but so it would be Moore and then Smith and Jigba, I guess.
Yep, because you both had him. So that's the consensus. That's the ones you're going to want to go with right there, and that's going to be what gets you your championship this week. Speaking of,
there he is. I was just going to say, I hope he's tracking that one.
Heck yeah. Said, hey, guys, first things first, I wish you give credit where credit is due. Mike, good call last week on JSNTD. Woo, 65 yards. Like I said, without Metcalf, we thought we saw a huge uptick on that target. We saw it. He's like to keep it simple today. Standard league, as always, he's got Dell at Carolina or Rice at Denver. Jeff, lead him off.
I tell you, this is an interesting one. And we got into it last night with that Kansas City Denver game because they're calling first. I believe it's anywhere from 6 to 14 inches of snow. Now
it already is. It's already there. So
it's already snowing. So it's going to be coming down in Denver. Which is interesting. It's not like it's going to wipe out the passing game, but to me, if that wasn't the case, I would say Rice is a no-brainer. Dell had been hot for a little bit. I mean, they're at Carolina. Carolina's about as terrible as a team and a defense that you're going to get. So I would say Dell. I would take Dell at Carolina simply because of the weather situation. If not for that, I think it would be an easy call with Rice.
I like it. What do you say, Joe?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think with the weather, I'm trying to think of what I would do if there was no weather because Rice is really coming on as like the only wideout relevant right now for the Chiefs. But I think you got to go with the weather. You got to go Dell at Carolina.
I think it's no-brainer for me because Dell is celebrating his birthday today.
Oh,
so give me take Dell at Carolina on his birthday every time. Rice at Denver, really. I mean, I do like Rice, his forecast for the rest of the season. But I do think that football game is going to get slowed down a lot. I think it's going to be a lot of running, a lot of defense. I don't think that there's going to be a whole lot of passing going on because the ball's going to be slick and everything like that, and especially with the rookie in Denver. No, thank you. Give me Dell at Carolina all day long. They're Trans-Siberian. And, hey, I'm pretty stoked that we're actually on the other side of history on this one because I've been letting you down this whole damn season. So glad to help out there. We already helped this guy out. We're going to go ahead and get this next guy coming. We got King AO 1033. He says, who do I start at PPR flex? Aaron Jones, Nico Collins, Josh Palmer. Jeff, lead us off.
All good options. I will say, we all know, I've said it, I say it every week. Nico Collins, short list, that's my boy. Now, having said that, we also say, or at least I also say, the tie goes to the running back. I don't think you can take Collins or Palmer over Jones just because of the anticipated volume that Jones would get, or touches you would get more so than the wide receivers. Palmer's a good option, certainly, and in the Chargers offense, I mean, it's kind of been up and down. So if I'm going, let's just say hypothetically, Nico Collins versus Palmer, I'm taking Collins. But because we got Aaron Jones thrown in there, you put Jones against Collins, I'm saying tie goes to running back. I'll take Jones. That's a long-winded answer. Sorry about it.
Yeah, no worries at all. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, if Aaron Jones is playing, I think you got to go Jones. They're playing Minnesota too, so it's a pretty good matchup.
Oh, it's so hard for me to start Nico Collins against that Carolina defense, man. But yeah, you got to go with Aaron Jones. He's going to have the volume. A.J. Dillon's tracking as a questionable tag as well. So give me Aaron Jones against that defense.
And I think they're going to tighten things up a little bit too with Jordan Love not looking very good lately. I feel like if they have a healthy Aaron Jones, that's got to be the way they see their only recipe for winning. Sorry, Jeff, what were you going to say?
No, and I mean, Mike brought up the name. You can't bring up A.J. Dillon's name ever, dude. He sucks. A.J. Dillon sucks.
Hey, he did pretty good a couple of weeks ago, so he's like a broken clock, right? He's right twice a season. We got Vince G222 says, need help this week in fantasy football. Supposedly Zach Moss is going to play today versus the Saints. All things considered, who would you start, Allgeier or Moss? Joe, why don't you lead us off on this one?
Yeah, it's a good. I get his dilemma there. I think you got to go Moss. I think the bottom line is Moss has been so good. Even with Jonathan Taylor, he's still been pretty good. So, I mean, he had 7 last week, but he got banged up, and he still had 18 rushes last week and 19 touches total. 17, 36, 9, 25, and 20 for DraftKings points previously. So if he's healthy, they've made room for both of them in Indianapolis. Algier, he had those couple of touchdowns like in week 1, I think it was. I don't know. He, obviously Bijan Robinson is the star there, but even on top of that, now to take that a step farther, they've got Cordell Patterson back now too, right? And as much as everybody wants to retire that guy, he seems to always have other plans too, and that's going to run into Algier's touches. But last week Algier went 21 times for 59 yards, another 53 receiving, but Bijan Robinson only got 1 touch because he was sick. So all things considered, if Bijan Robinson is healthy, I take Moss here. If Bijan Robinson is still limited, then I would look at Algier.
I like it. What do you say here, Jeff?
Yeah, and I believe, did you pronounce it Algier when you first started off there? What is Joe rubbing off any on the mispronunciations there? So, but I tell you, I do like the logic behind that. What I will say is that my gut tells me Jonathan Taylor is going to go off this week. I don't think that's going to leave much left. I know that Algier isn't the number 1 option there in Atlanta, but they lean more on that running game in Atlanta, and Indy's going to be feeding Jonathan Taylor with that 3-year, $42 million contract. So I don't think Moss is going to get a ton of opportunity. The one thing you can probably say about Algier is a lot of times they get inside the 10, they give that guy, a chance at the end zone. So I would say Algier to me by a slim margin.
Yep, and I'm actually with you here, Jeff. I think I'm leaning on Algier here too. I think he's got kind of like still don't think if we got a clear answer as what the hell happened with Bijan Robinson last week as far as why he felt bad or felt sick, or was this an issue with the coach? Was this an issue with the player? Was this an issue with whatever? I just know that he turned out to be a ghost last week, and Algier seemed to be the guy who benefited most from that move right there. That said, Zach Moss, I feel like we've been seeing him trend lighter and lighter on the snap count. He did look great last week. But I do think that the volume is going to certainly just lean way, especially with injury concerns. It's going to learn way towards Jonathan Taylor today. Give me Algier, because like Jeff said, he's going to be getting those touches inside the 10-yard line. He might turn that into a touchdown. Real
quick, and I should have caught this last night on DFS, but Bijan Robinson's only 6,000 on DraftKings this week, which is pretty cheap for him. Obviously, he did nothing last week, but it sounds like he's going to go back to his regular role this week. That's actually a pretty nice price for him from the DFS.
I think that they're on to something there. He's gonna go out there. The coach is gonna be like, "The hell's that guy doing here?" At Subtle_charisma, he's got Terry McLaurin versus Eagles, Drake London versus the Titans, Christian Watson versus the Vikings, Jacoby Myers versus the Lions. Which 2 is he starting, Jeff?
Which 2? Well, first of all, we made the case for Myers, even though he is the second guy there. But he has been putting up some nice numbers, and I like that matchup against the Lions. I would say of the other one, I tell you, I just can't take anybody from the Washington offense. Maybe it's just a block in my mind. Something just tells me to stay away from Washington completely. Drake London did better when he played in London, but he still is kind of the main target there, although they do lean on the running game heavy, but he seems to be kind of the guy in Atlanta. So I would say Myers and London.
I actually 100% agree with that. I'm on Drake London and Jacoby Myers today as well. I'm with you. Washington receivers have just been unreliable. I was very excited to see what Dotson was going to be able to do coming out of the gate this year. And he's just been not involved in, even when he is involved, he's making crucial drops and situational. I can't believe that team and how bad they are. And also, I think Romeo Doubs is definitely the guy who they're going to be throwing to most in Green Bay. I think they're going to continue that. I think you're going to see Jones get some, and even Luke Musgraves is going to get some targets. But I think Christian Watson is kind of a touchdown dependent odd man out. I think if he gets a touchdown, he's looking great because he's got 3 catches for 33 yards and a touchdown. But if he doesn't, he's got 3 catches for 33 yards. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I agree. Christian Watson's the first one that I take out here. They're just a mess right now. Jordan Love too. It's tough for me, this other one, because if you look at McLaurin, he started slow, but he's had at least 14 DraftKings points 3 out of the last 4 weeks. He had 1 big week in that, but Philly's got lockdown corners too. So it feels wrong to say Drake London and Jacoby Myers over McLaurin, but I think that is where we at, or where I'm at too, with the matchup. So I believe I agree with you guys, right? London and Myers.
Yep, London and Myers. Yep, that's where we landed as well. So, yep, all on the same page there. We got our man, and I apologize if I butcher your name, but Abhinav Kumar Rai. How's it going, buddy? Glad you joined us. He says, hiya and then saya. Maybe that was a hi bye, but welcome to the program. Welcome to the Blitz.
Yes,
let's see here. Let's see here. We got at Jake _CG27 says Bijan Robinson or Jonathan Taylor, Tank Dell or Deontay Johnson. This one is more of my brain thinking upside and Dell because it's his birthday, obviously.
These are good ones.
So what do you think?
Yeah, these are both. That running back one's really interesting. You could stare at that a while. Jonathan Taylor versus Bijan Robinson. Obviously, I mean, we just talked about it. Robinson did nothing last week. 1 touch, illness. 11 snaps total. Crowded back there now, Algier, as well as Cordell Patterson being back. Jonathan Taylor's ramping up. Zach Moss. I mean, that Zach Moss injury status really, to me, is the key to all of these Jonathan Taylor ones. I think you gotta go Taylor if Moss is out. If Moss is playing, this one's really, really hard. If Moss is playing, I guess I go back to Bijan, thinking that last week is like just a blimp on the radar and he's back. But the days of sitting Jonathan Taylor may be over after this week for sure. As far as I think he's got it, Jake's got it right. The upside with Tank Dell, I definitely think is better than, the ceiling for Deontay Johnson. However, if you want 10 to 15, I like Deontay Johnson for that. It's what he's done his whole career. It doesn't seem to look any different for him with Pickett. So it's about what you feel like you need 30 from this slot, then I would go Dell. If you feel like you're going to be okay this week and you just don't want a dud, I would go Johnson, because Dell could be a dud. They dud out there in Houston a little bit, wide receiver wise. They had a couple of weeks where they were both great, but that's not really the reality there now if you look at the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's either one or the other. That's for sure. I like Jonathan Taylor over Bijan. I think I'm going to try to find a way to hopefully play them both. Not knowing who your situation is or anything like that.
That's a fair point.
I have a tough time benching either one of these guys. And then Tank Dell, for sure. I like the upside of C.J. Stroud and his matchup today over Kenny Pickett, what he's been doing. Although, like I said, I've been enjoying what I've been seeing out of Kenny Pickett lately. It just isn't enough of what I've seen out of Tank Dell. I think this is a perfect Tank Dell situation today. And I think it's going to be him over Nico Collins, although hopefully he starts feeding both again because, gosh dang, I got a that's awesome. I just reread the question that's coming up right now, and it kind of set me off. But yeah, no, Dell and Robinson Dell and Jonathan Taylor for me, no, hands down.
Real quick, Mikey, the birthday thing is real. You mentioned that, and I love that you mentioned it, and it might make me revisit my DraftKings lineup. But it's like when the old player goes back to his former team for the first time. With wideouts, man, they feed them and they get those guys touchdowns. I feel like it's the same shit with Burt. Dell will get 1 shot at the end zone for sure today, just based on it being his birthday.
Right. Here you go, buddy. Yep. Nope. It's a real thing that does happen all the time. He says, Mike, new beverage. Yes, I'm drinking Sam Adams Oktoberfest, dude. And I'm telling you, if you can get this where you're at, this is the best beer I've ever had in my life. Wow. It's so goddamn good. So tasty. I try to drink as much of it as I possibly can over October, and then I otherwise really don't drink too often. He says he couldn't get into the first question. So if he may start Kansas City defense or the Niners defense. Jeff, I'm going to let you lead this one off.
I'd say this this will be more difficult if not for the matchup, and especially with the weather going on. The KC's defense has been solid, and when you talk about going up against the pitiful Denver Broncos, and you add in a foot of snow on that, I think you're ripe for some fumbles and possibly a defensive score there. The Niners obviously have a great defense. They're playing Cincinnati. Cincinnati's interesting that they still got Jamar Chase. They're still dangerous. So I would say the KC defense to me is a no-brainer in that one.
I actually completely agree with you. I think it's going to be a slaughter fest in good old Denver, especially with the offense that if you give them great conditions in a bare field, they're still not going to be able to do a whole lot of damage against you. So now adding slippery conditions and things like that, it ought to be a pretty big shit show over there. What do you think, Joe?
I agree 100%. And even without the weather, the numbers would still back this up. I mean, the 49ers just played Minnesota and Cleveland. Now, Minnesota's a good offense, but they turned the ball over a ton. And this was Cleveland with PJ Walker. And they put up 2 and 7 DraftKings points. And they only have double digits twice this year. So as great as the Niner defense is, and it's winning them games, it's not really translating fantasy-wise. And then there's all the reasons why you want Kansas City against Denver today. So yeah, I agree 100%.
And then also, I mean, I'm looking at just we talked DFS on Saturday nights, and just from a DFS standpoint today, I mean, Kansas City, I would have expected to see as maybe the most expensive option, but they're 6th on the list as far as FanDuel is concerned. So you can get them at 4,500. That might be a great DFS option if you're putting together a lineup today.
Yeah, sincere bargain play when you consider the rest of the costs and everything like that. So yeah, definitely. I'm actually probably, if you follow us for our DFS content on the show last night, I will likely be changing to that because it's a hell of a grab right there. Another defensive question out there. Oh, accidentally hit the wrong thing. He says @Z_Tremaine says Cleveland defense versus Seattle or Miami defense versus New England. Joe, what do you got?
Yeah, this is kind of a tough one because the Cleveland defense has been really good. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't love taking a defense when their offense is in the hole. So like the PJ Walker start there, I don't. That doesn't at Seattle too. But the other one's kind of interesting too because the Patriots obviously last week finally woke up for really the first time this year with their win against Buffalo. They scored 29. I'm going to go the Miami defense here. I don't want to take a defense at Seattle. That offense is playing pretty well. It was just one game. I got to see more from the Patriots. So I'm going to go Miami here.
I like it. What do you say here, Jeff?
Yeah, I'll agree on that. The Miami defense hasn't exactly been burning it up, but the Patriots offense is downright abysmal. If they're not last, they're second to last as far as total offense. I'm pretty sure. So and they're at home. Yeah. And at home for whatever reason, Miami always plays New England tougher when they're at home. So I think you got a better shot there, Miami, as opposed to Cleveland. Although Cleveland's defense is solid, but just with matchup wise, I'd say Miami.
You guys both said Miami. I think I like Cleveland. I know that they're probably going to give up. Yeah, I was just actually talking to my lady about this, about how, you're going to have these defenses that get scored on for sure. They're going to get that 10 points. They're going to lose that bonus. But they're also going to get you 4 or 5 sacks in a game, possibly an interception, a couple fumble recoveries and things like that. So they'll make up points on the back end, and I feel like Cleveland is going to be able to do that, at least turn the ball over 2 or 3 times against Seattle, as well as be able to pressure Geno Smith enough to probably pull down 3 or 4 sacks. TJ Watt's just a nasty force. I'm not really not thinking about that, but Myles Garrett is just such a beast, man. And I mean, he's going to be able to find Geno Smith at least once or twice during the game. Let's see. He says, love Sam Adams cherry wheat. Dude, I'm telling you, so this is like cherry wheat, but a little bit more smooth and subtle. I'm telling you.
So he can get Sam Adams cherry wheat, but not Dr. fucking Pepper?
Well, so he also used to live in the States, so he's probably more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he probably can't get it now, I'm sure. I'm sure maybe I'm sure that you can't even buy. I'd hope you couldn't buy 2.
Joe, you didn't know that in the Ukraine on fountain sodas, they do Sam Adams cherry wheat in place of Dr. Pepper. I don't know if you realize that one. Yeah. So if you go to McDonald's, you got Coke and then you got Sam Adams cherry wheat.
Big Mac with a Sam Adams cherry wheat.
There you go. There you go. At the Wooden Wizard, Pickett, Taylor, Dobbs, or Baggin as a streamer for quarterback 2. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Man, this is really hard. I'm not going Taylor. That's for sure. Because the Jet matchup alone. And Taylor's been, he's been better than Daniel Jones, but I'm not going to take him against that Jet matchup. This is really hard. Pickett home against Jacksonville, but he doesn't translate fantasy-wise too much. Dobbs could get into the end zone. I know the Baltimore. I don't know. I guess Pickett. This is really hard. I'm thinking about Dobbs could get you a rushing touchdown. Pickett's now got his wide receivers back. They're going to have to score some points to stick with Jacksonville. I don't know what the hell to expect from Badgett in LA against the Chargers. They got to take the semi-cross country trip. You know how that goes. So it's a tough one. I guess I'll go Pickett. What do you guys?
Okay. What do you think here, Jeff?
So just matchup wise, Dobbs. You can't go there. Baltimore's defense is about as legit as it gets. Arizona's offense is about as unlegit, if that's a word, as it gets. Tyrod Taylor, like Joe said, that's another tough matchup. So we're looking at Pickett over Baggett. I would say I'm going my boy Baggett, if that's how you pronounce his last name. I'll give him a shot. I think he's going to get a decent amount of opportunity. The Chargers defense is ripe for the pickings. They just they've been kind of porous over this season. So give me Baggett over Pickett.
It's funny because I was going to go with Baggett. If you went Baggett, I was between them and Pickett because I don't really like Taylor or Dobbs today. So yeah, give me Baggett. Let's roll. Let's get this guy back out there. They haven't figured him out yet, although they now have 1 week of tape on this kid. So look out. But I'm ready to roll with that guy.
That's my new boy, Tyler Baggett. That's my new boy.
There you go. We love it. Hopping on board. We got AdJoeCast 215 says Addison, Olave, Nico, Tank starting 2. Jeff, what do you think?
Ooh, I like it. So, first of all, you can't start 2 guys from the same team. And if we're talking between Nico and Tank Dell, you got to go Nico. I think I'd be going him regardless. So that's one. Picking between the other 2. Joe mentioned earlier, Addison, big week last week, kind of woke up a little bit. Olave's been fairly consistent, not necessarily burning it up all that well. What I hate to fall into the trap of picking somebody solely based off of the week prior. Addison obviously had a huge week, which leads people to kind of trust him or go towards him this week. Even so, I'm still taking Addison because of the opportunity that he's going to have there in Green Bay, and I'm taking Nico.
It's close for me too. I really like Addison and Olave here, but I do like Nico and Tank. But I think I'm actually going to go Addison and Olave here because I just like their opportunity more, and I don't have to decide between Nico and Tank, which is tough enough as it is, man. Why did you do that too? So, what do you think here, Joe?
Yeah, I think Addison, you got to play. Obviously, it was his best week last week, but he'd been working up to this, and he's the number 1 there with the Jefferson injury. Olave had an interesting week for sure. He's playing. I also just saw Michael Thomas is actually questionable too. So that's something to keep an eye out on. It sucks. I'm going to go Addison and Olave. The thing with the Nico Tank thing, given that matchup, one of them's going to have a big game today. I do believe one of them's going to put up big numbers. I just don't have a freaking clue which one it is. So I feel better about Addison and Olave based on that. But I would expect my prediction would be one of those 2 Houston guys will probably have a better week than Olave, but I don't know how to pick which one.
See, I disagree. I think Addison and Olave are going to be 2 guys that actually, because of the fact that they don't have a Tank Dell or a Nico Collins on the opposite side of them, They're going to be guys that are going to be way more productive volume wise. I think you could probably even like confidently start Nico and Tank in certain situations. Like if you were if you don't have Addison and Olave would be one of those instances, right? Like if this is your wide receiver 1 and 2 right here, I don't mind starting Nico and Tank because I feel like one of the guys is going to get you 12. The other guy's going to get you probably 20 something. But I think Addison and Olave are both very capable today of giving you that 15 to 18 mark. So I'm liking that average just a little bit higher. So I'm rolling with those two.
Real quick. Oh, I lost it now. I totally did. Oh, well, what I was going to say is Tampa Bay is the same situation right now. Like Evans and Godwin. Godwin started slow, but he's been actually better than Evans lately. They both got you double digits if you had started them on Thursday night. So one of the few teams where I agree you could technically start them both. And then the other, just real quick, Michael Thomas is questionable. If he's not playing, I 100% feel very, very good about Olave.
Yeah, for sure, because he's definitely been poaching those touchdowns without a doubt. So you definitely keep your eye on that, monitor that. But like I said, for my money, it's Addison and Olave there. Let's go to the next one. Here we got. I'm Brian Fellows. Hi, Mr. Brian Fellows. Says half PPR. He needs one. Zay Flowers, DJ Moore, or Addison. Jeff, lead us off.
Ooh, this is a good one. I really like this one. So, I tell you, we all know DJ Moore on my list. Another one of my boys right there. So, Addison. Again, don't fall. You can't necessarily fall into that trap. He did have a huge week, and it seems like he's trending to have a good amount of targets, decent amount of receptions. So Zay Flowers has been the guy. He just hasn't put up huge numbers, but he's got the receptions and he's got the targets to him. Man, this is really tough. I would say Flowers, just because of matchup. I mean, they're in Arizona. Arizona, not the greatest defense. Flowers has been the guy that Lamar's zeroing in on. So, yeah, by a slim margin, Flowers.
What do you say here, Joe?
Yeah, this is a really good one. I'm trying to see exactly what DJ Moore did last week. Oh, because he's not in the main slate. I was trying to look to see what DJ Moore did last week with Badgett. Because I'm not remembering off the top of my head. Zay Flowers is basically getting you between 10 and 15 every single week. I think he's got 1 week where he was single digits. Every other one is 10 to 15. So, I mean, if the rest of your lineup's really strong and you just feel like you don't want to bomb out, you probably like that floor with Flowers. That being said, DJ Moore and what do you got it, Jeff?
Yeah. So last week he had nine targets, 8 receptions, 54 yards. Now, not a ton of yardage, but that's a good amount of targets. And I tell you, I mean, it is interesting to see what Baggett, if he's going to be. I mean, Moore's obviously a good option for him, and that it could turn out to be where Moore gets another, who knows, dozen targets with 8-9 receptions. I can see that, but Flowers has just been a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, and I wonder too. The other thing I don't know the answer to is if there's any weather in Green Bay today. Just thinking about the fact that there is, and yeah, there looks like there's precipitation, and it's only 38 degrees too in Green Bay, which makes that interesting. I think it's hard to not go Addison for me here, but I'm gonna go DJ Moore. The Chargers are gonna probably put up between 30 and 40, but the Bears could have easily put up 20 to 30 because the Charger defense isn't very good. More, I love that target share in the receptions last week. I think it's odd for him to only go 54 yards on 8 catches just based on how good he is with yards after the catch. And I think Zay Flowers is going to be in that same to 10 to 15. If he doesn't get one of the first couple of touchdowns, they might not need to do much more, and they'll be very conservative as they always are in the second half with a lead. So I think DJ Moore is going to have the most opportunity this week out of those 3. But that's a really good one.
So you had DJ Moore, and you had DJ Moore also, Jeff, or you had Addison?
Well, I was see that it's like hard. 1 and 1A. I'm leaning Flowers by a very slim margin. Although these are all great options, but I'm leaning Flowers.
See, and for me, Flowers did so disappointingly bad last week when they did the shellacking that they did against Detroit. it was all Mark Andrews. It was all Lamar Jackson. It was all about that running game. And they seem to not be really throwing a whole lot of targets towards Zay Flowers. As much as I'd like him to be great, it just doesn't seem. I mean, even Rashad Bateman was getting a little bit more involved in certain situations out there. I was like, whoa, another Rashad Bateman sighting. But DJ Moore is, and he just missed. Like DJ Moore just missed a touchdown last week, or else he would have put up a 16, 17-point game again. I don't like his matchup, though. So for me, it's going to be Addison because he's going to be on that high-octane offense, getting a lot of targets, getting fed by Kirk Cousins. Johnson's still out. Jefferson's still out. Give me Addison all day long. So we probably didn't help you there.
Wow.
Trans-Siberian's going to have to track that one.
Well, I mean, just take what we all said on individual and just go with your gut. And who made the most sense on that one, I guess.
And a half point, I do feel like those guys are all pretty good. Like I think you're going to be pretty okay with whichever one.
I think you should have double digits across the board on those choices.
Yeah, but I agree. I think you're going to be at a minimum of 12. I think you're going to be able to pick one of those guys that's going to be able to get you 25. Which one's going to be? Because Zay Flowers could certainly just go out there and explode. It's just like I said, when they were out there exploding, he was kind of an afterthought in most of the pass play situations there. At Pretty Flacco says full PPR, got two for you. Ayuk or Waddle or London or Ridley. Joe, what do you got?
Those are good. Man, it's crazy to sit Jalen Waddle, but I think I got to go Ayuk here with no Debo in a game with Cincinnati where, their offense is getting better. So let's say Cincinnati's going to score in the 20s. They're going to need Ayuk, and he's been really good this year. So I think I go Ayuk. Plus, the Patriot defense has historically done a pretty good job against Miami's passing game. Tyreek Hill's only bad game this year is against the Patriots. So I'm going to go Ayuk there. London or Ridley is another really tough one. The first half of the year would have been Ridley for sure. I feel like Christian Kirk just is getting in Ridley's way of really, really going off for the season. Oh, man. I think I'm going to go London, which shocks myself, but I think I'm going to go Ayuk in London here.
It's always good when you can shock yourself a little bit. I do that plenty of times on this show. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, well, I'll start there. I'm going London as well. Ridley has been just so up and down. I mean, the guy could have a game where he has 25 points in it, but we've also seen him have games where he's had 1.5. At least London, he hasn't been burning it up, but at least the guy's been fairly consistent. You're going to get somewhere around the 10 to 20 fantasy points range on him. So I'd say London on that one. As far as the other one, don't get me wrong. I love Joe's logic there. I do like Ayuk, but the Patriots are well known for taking away the best option, and obviously Tyreek Hill is the number one option there in Miami. Bill Belichick and the New England defense, everybody in New England hates Tyreek Hill. So in my opinion, he's going to do everything to shut down Tyreek Hill, which is going to leave Waddle open for some opportunities. So I'm taking Waddle.
And I actually agree. I like Drake London a lot today. I think Drake London is going to be your guy to play there. Ridley has just been kind of a ghost there. It's either been Zay Jones, it's been Christian Kirk, it's been whoever isn't Calvin Ridley. That said, he's probably due for a good week, but I think London's way more consistent of a play. But I agree. I think Waddle on that offense. I think you're right. I think you're spot on. I think they're going to probably try to focus on knocking Hill out of that game, and any time that you can do that successfully, Waddle seems to have himself a pretty big day. So, and I do see the Dolphins scoring quite a bit because there's a lot of anger towards that organization as a whole from the Miami Dolphins organization. So I'm with you, Jeff, on that one. I say London and Waddle. Next one we got coming up, the real at Timmy_D says Javonte, Justice Hill, Chuba, Foreman, Jeff Wilson, full PPR pick 2. Joe, sort this one out, man.
Oh, Javonte, Foreman, man. So I think, it's funny. He didn't come up last night either, surprisingly, after 3 touchdowns last week. Foreman, I think, I mean, even is Herbert back?
Khalil Herbert? I don't believe so.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think you got to go Foreman here based on what he did last week. Miles Sanders is back. I know Hubbard's going to get some play, but I don't know if you go there. I think I follow Mikey. This is full pick 2, so I'm going to go Foreman and Williams.
Yep, no, he got placed on IR, so Khalil Herbert's definitely not out. Yeah, I'm actually Javonte Williams and Foreman here myself. I think Javonte is just going to get a lot of work today, being in the snow. I think that's going to be the big deciding factor there in Foreman, man. Credit where credit's due. The guy looked great last week. I know I was fading him, saying he's probably not going to be able to do much on that offense, and boy, was I wrong as he punched it in 3 separate times. What do you think here, Jeff?
Yeah, I do like Foreman. I'll agree with you guys on him. What I'm questioning there is Javonte Williams, and I'm looking at Jeff Wilson. That should be interesting with Jeff Wilson, but we just haven't seen enough from him, or he haven't been around this season at all. So Javonte Williams against a tough Kansas City defense might get some opportunity just because they're going to be running the ball a halfway decent amount. So for me, Williams and Foreman.
I like it. I like it a lot. That's a 3. That's a sweep right there.
We needed that after the last one.
Right, right. 1 and 1 and 1, and then a sweep. We got Ryan Sherlock 0 says Chiefs defense or Ravens defense. Jeff, what do you think here?
They both been great. They should feast on both their matchups today, whether it would be Denver or Arizona. But because weather-wise, and I hate to beat this to death. We've talked about it a lot this morning because of what's going on in Denver. The Chiefs are going to have a lot of opportunities to have some fumbles come their way, most likely. It's going to be a dirty game, ugly, probably not high scoring. I'm saying Chiefs.
I actually agree with that 100%. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I guess because of the weather, I will go Chiefs. It's tough because the Baltimore defense has scored double digits 3 out of the last 4 weeks, and it's a good matchup for them. But the Chiefs defense has gone 4 out of the last 6 double digits. The weather, and they only gave up 8 to Denver 2 weeks ago, and that was with no weather. So, yeah, I guess you got to ride the Chiefs in the weather.
I like it. I like it. Yep, I'm riding with the Chiefs this week. I think they're going to be plenty good. Again, in the snow, give it to me. Cushion Camos, my kind of person. Kirk or Waddle this week. Have Amon too, which I'm started. Joe, start us off here.
Yeah, I really got to check Waddle's stats on this one because I'm loving what Christian Kirk's been doing for Jacksonville this week. Yeah, Waddle's been 12, 18, and 14 the last 3 weeks too. So he's got 2 touchdowns. This is a tough one for me. I really love what Christian Kirk's doing, and he's doing it pretty consistently for he's double digits every week other than week 1, and he's been over 20 twice and only under 15 twice. So he's pretty much getting you 15 to 20 every week, which is really, really hard to sit that.
Especially Zay Jones out today.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. You're correct. So, but I love the point you guys made with Waddle. I mean, he's been better after maybe a little bit of a slow start. We all agree the Patriots do well against Tyreek, which will lead to more opportunities for Waddle. I feel like the ceiling's a little better for Waddle here, so I'm going to go Waddle. It's close for me, though, because Kirk's been great. What
do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, Kirk has done well, but just based off of, the explanation I had before with the hatred that New England in general, Bill Belichick has for, or dislike, I should say, for Tyreek Hill, they're going to be targeting him, making sure he's not going to be blowing them up for God knows how many, which is going to leave some opportunity for Waddle. So I'd say Waddle over Kirk.
Same here. I like Waddle's opportunity. I like Waddle's talent better. Waddle is a fantastic receiver. He's been really slow to get started this season. I think we really see them turn it around because, like you said, they're going to isolate out good old Tyreek Hill probably relatively rapidly in that game. So going from there. Oh, he says he wishes Jeff that. Yes, that's awesome, man. Yes, Sam Daniels back in the callings, man. You gotta. Oh, and we're ringing the dinner bell, so that'll be good for him tonight. But
I gotta teach my wife that.
Heck yeah. That's that's funny.
Mike's not touching that one. He's got a 1-week-old baby. He's like, nope.
We got OG Vince says good morning. PPR 2 flex spots, and I need 2. Aaron Jones or Rashid Shaheed or DeAndre Hopkins. Thanks. Ooh, Joe, let us know what you think here.
Yeah, I mean Aaron Jones for sure. Shaheed's actually probably been better than DeAndre Hopkins. I would say this. I'll say it this way. If Michael Thomas is out and Shaheed becomes the number 2 there, I'd feel decent about that. But if Michael Thomas is playing, I'm going to stick with DeAndre Hopkins there.
I don't mind that explanation at all. Jeff, what do you think here?
I can't go Hopkins. I don't know. Like I said before, this is maybe half an hour, 40 minutes ago. The chemistry just has not been there for Hopkins. I don't think this is the spot for him. Shaheed has 14 targets over the last couple of weeks, and then again, you can't get away from the running back. So I go Jones and Shaheed.
I actually go Jones and Shaheed here as well. I just don't like it with the new quarterback out there. Tight end and running back ought to have a field day, but give me the guys who I know are probably going to get at least the target share, at least a decent target share in there. We got our man Josh says Burrow or Stroud and Carr or Russ. I don't know if we're playing both of these guys or out of all 4 of them, or maybe it's just 2 different leagues, but we'll treat it like 2 different leagues, and we'll go with you, Jeff. What do you think here, Burrow or Stroud, and then Carr or Russ? Well,
first of all, I'll say to me between Derek Carr and Russell Wilson, I think it's a no-brainer based on the matchup and everything else this week that Russ is going to have a difficult time against that Kansas City defense. So I go Derek Carr on that one all day. Now, between Burrow and Stroud, that is a tough one. I think we talked about this a little bit last night, too. We get into Burrow. I mean, the talent is there. Jamar Chase is going to get his. I get it. It's against San Francisco. I tell you, I think in this scenario, I said Burrow last night, but I might even be talking myself out of it a little bit just because Stroud has those. He's got some good weapons there. They're against Carolina, so they're going to have some opportunity to put up some points. And who knows, Stroud might punch one in, just rushing it perhaps. So on a slim margin, I take Stroud and then Derek Carr.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that a bit. What do you think here, Joe?
This one is so funny. This is the 3rd time this Burrow-Stroud scenario has come up. We had it last night, today, and then my dad and I were talking about this one this week too, because he had the opportunity to pick Stroud up off of waivers in a 1 QB league, versus going Burrow, who we already had. It is a tough one. All the reasons, Jeff already said. I'm going to go Stroud based on the matchups here by a little bit. It's hard to do that when you assume that Chase is going to go for $150 and a touchdown, but there hasn't been a lot left for Higgins and Boyd this year like there has been in years past. And then obviously being against San Francisco, that's going to make it tough sledding. So I will go Stroud and Carr basically because of the matchups and the weather in Denver.
Yeah, and I don't mean to interrupt I think I said Burrow last night, and geez, I mean Joe just said it too. I think I have Chase as my guy I'm paying up for as far as DFS, so I think he's going to go off a little bit. That's a really slim margin. I guess I said Burrow last night, changing my mind a little bit. That's a very, very slim margin. I don't think you can go wrong either way.
I don't mind that actually both a bit. I like Burrow. I like Stroud. For me, Burrow's not a guy I can bench. I feel like I drafted him super early for a reason. CJ Stroud has been looking amazing this year, but Burrow can his ceiling is just so much higher than what I've seen with Stroud. The guy can go out there and he can pitch for 350 and 4 TDs so easily like that. And this seems like the setup that he'd be in there. So I'm with the Burrow train there. Like I said, I'm with Jeff here though too. I think that either one of these guys aren't going to be a bad play, but I do lean Burrow a tad bit more. And for me, Carr, it's hands down. Russ is going to get his ass kicked today. I think on that comment right there. The Broncos they should get shellacked. Although, these 2 teams do always play each other pretty damn tough. Adding the snow in the mix and stuff like that, I just don't see that there's going to be a whole lot of fantasy points being scored in this situation. Whereas Carr, I think, is just going to play balls out.
Hey, real quick, I just Bleacher Report. Patrick Mahomes dealing with the flu needed IVs in order to play today.
That's what they're saying. But notice my theory of him and Zach Wilson trading places at halftime during that game is still just gaining more and more steam every single day. Oh, I'm sick now. Oh, look at me. I'm Patrick Mahomes. I'm sick now. Nope, he's Zach Wilson. You'd be sick too if you woke up every morning and you were Zach Wilson.
That's funny.
Probably not, dude. That guy, I follow him on a few things, man, and that guy looks like he's living a pretty damn good life. So.
Well, yeah, and he might be sick. He's got like Hep C from banging all those MILFs, apparently. You know what I mean? So that could be it.
Oh, So maybe I don't admire that as much.
His mom's pretty hot. If we're really going to get into it.
Yeah, Joe's like, yeah, I'm still in. At Diet Donut, it says, we're all starting Mahomes today, right?
Donut.
Weather is supposed to be bad. Are we starting Mahomes today, Joe?
Well, I'll tell you what. I would have said yes a minute ago. Now dealing with between the snow and the fact that now we know he has the flu, I would think about my backup. I wouldn't start Tyrod Taylor, but if you're in a one quarterback league and your backup is Joe Burrow, let's say, which it could be, or you're in a one quarterback league and it's even like a CJ Stroud now, man, I'll tell you what, if KC's up 17-3 at halftime, Pacheco's got the touchdowns in the first half because of the weather, Mahomes they might run the ball 35, 40 times today. I don't know now. You probably are. You probably still are because it's Mahomes and it'd have to be a good backup, but I think you have to at least think about it now.
Yeah, I'd have to see the backups on this one for sure for me to make any kind of a decision. But I mean, it'd have to be like Josh Allen, who's already played, of course. But it's going to have to be somebody of that caliber if I'm benching Patrick Mahomes, because you don't bench Patrick Mahomes. And I mean, you don't. I like CJ Stroud's opportunity, but again, we look at ceiling, the things that Mahomes can do. And I mean, I don't care if it's snowing outside or not. Mahomes knows how to play in almost every condition. He's good in every condition. Again, he looked like crap last time he played Denver, but that more leans towards my theory that him and Zach Wilson traded places. What do you think, Jeff?
I mean, I guess, yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
No. Go, Jeff.
No, I would just need a little bit more context as to who the backup is, I guess, because we did make some cases for some guys who you could have as a backup, like let's just say it's Brock Purdy or Stroud or like Jared Goff or somebody like that. I'd like to know who the backup is.
Right. So hopefully you can get out there and you can give us a little bit more context on that one at Diet Donut, which is an oxymoron all of itself.
Real quick,
we got at Fantasy _Schmuck. He says Ridley or Downs PPR. Jeff, what do you think?
Actually, Joe, you got something?
I would just
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. My last comment is gonna be like, if you feel like you got a backup that's gonna be able to give you 20, I think you would have to consider that because Mahomes hasn't been phenomenal fantasy wise. Now you throw snow and the flu into that. Kelsey's going to get his. There's not much left there. So I feel like if you got a backup to give you 20, I would feel good. And then I was just going to ask a selfish question real quick because this Chief game has now been in play here for the last few minutes. So in my Survivor League, I've got the Chiefs this week. That's who I've had picked. But I am not feeling good about that. It's a rivalry game. It's in Denver. Now you got the weather. Now you got Mahomes sick. So real quick, if you guys don't mind, because and with the Survivor, obviously we're in week 8, so there's 7 teams I can't take. Would you go? Here are the real options left. I'd love to know what you guys think real quick. The Texans against the Panthers. I could take the Cowboys home against the Rams, or I could take the Jets. The other one that is viable is I could take the Chargers home against the Bears. Who would you guys go? I mean, and this thing started with like 40 people. There's only 6 left.
So for me, I think it would come down to Houston or the Jets. And I actually like the Jets because it's not an away game. It says at the Giants, but they're the same stadium. Jets fans with the firemen there screaming JETS. That's going to be a home game. And it's to me, I'd venture to guess that more Jets fans would be there. I like the Jets or Houston, but I'll go Jets. What do you got, Mike?
I actually was thinking more along the lines of the last choice there. What was the last one?
The Chargers home against
the Chargers. Yeah, I think the Chargers have a pretty solid chance to win today against the Bears. I think our guy did good last week, but man, I don't know if he'll be able to do as good against that defense that he will. So I think the Chargers are pretty slam dunk.
But you would both not go with the Chiefs based on what we know now.
No, absolutely not. No.
Yeah.
No, but I think you're right. I think that's a setup for definite disappointment on that game because the Broncos could easily win that game 6-3, something like that. I mean, it could be that low. So we go back to Fantasy Football, the Schmuck. He says Ridley or Downs PPR. Jeff, what do you think here?
I'd say we talked about Ridley maybe 10 or 15 minutes ago. He's been so up and down. It's one of those things where he could get 25 points or he can get you 2. Downs has been at least a little bit more consistent over there, and it's Minshew again, right? Yeah. So I mean, Gardner Minshew's a legit backup. Seems to be getting Downs. I mean, Downs has 20 targets over the last 3 weeks. He's putting up some solid numbers and seems to be a good option there. So just for consistency wise, I'd say Downs.
I agree with that. I'm thinking Downs over Ridley, which is crazy. You asked me that 6 months ago, 6 weeks ago. I'm going to tell you Ridley all day, but Downs has been looking great. He's been passing the eye test. He's been getting the ball in tight situations and in red zone looks. So give me Downs. What do you think, Joe?
I agree. Yep.
And that's a 3-way for Downs. You got nothing else to mention after Jeff broke it down. If Mostert is inactive, I have to choose between Barkley versus the tough Jets defense or Aaron Jones. Jeff, why don't you lead us off?
Ooh, that is a tough one there. I tell you. It's tough to get away from Barkley, but yeah, the Jets D has done very well. I mean, outside of Barkley, who else is a threat there for the Giants? They're going to be keying in on him a little bit over there, and I'd say Jones you're going to have a little bit more opportunity with Jones there. I mean, they're going to be at home against Minnesota, not the best defense, just the matchup wise. I'm saying Jones.
Yeah, absolutely. The target share and everything like that, I think is going to lean more towards Jones' way. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I'm reading about Aaron Jones right now, and Friday LaFleur said he's ready to go. He doesn't have an injury designation, but he is not at 100% by any stretch. That just makes it. I don't think, and I don't expect a ton from Barkley against the Jets, and Mostert is going to play. But I'll be honest. I mean, the Patriots again, good defense. Historically decent defense against this Miami offense. So I don't necessarily love Mostert either, although you do have to love him with the touchdowns if he's going to get his normal share. But I don't know if you can sit Barkley here. I think even against the Jets, you got to go Barkley.
Yeah, I think I go Barkley here too. I do like I think he's going to have the volume. Aaron Jones, of course, I think is going to maybe have a little bit more opportunity out of the passing game. But I think Barkley's about the one-man show there. So I'm going to be leaning Barkley here as well. Quarterback was Burrow. My quarterback too, was Burrow. Stroud or Love? I went Burrow, but he hasn't been great in a tough 49ers defense. Stroud gets Carolina, who hasn't been good on defense. So who are we picking here? Are we going to play as our quarterback too? Are we playing Stroud or are we playing Burrow, Joe?
Fourth time now, right? This is the fourth Burrow Stroud thing.
Burrow, Stroud, or Love?
I can't, or Love, yeah, definitely not Love.
Right here.
Well, I can't. I'd be quite the schmuck if I went Burrow here because I just went Stroud 5 minutes ago. So I'm gonna go Stroud because of the matchup, really, more than anything. If you guys, if those were your two quarterbacks in a league, by the end of the season, you'd probably start. And I know Mikey said you can't sit Burrow, but realistically, it's been rough. And he's in a division with good defenses too. I feel like you'd end up starting Burrow 10 times and Stroud 7 throughout the year if this continually came up. It wouldn't have been the answer at the beginning of the year, but it feels like that's how it's played out. But I will go Stroud because of the matchup this week.
Yeah, I'd like to play both the quarterback too, League. What do you think, Jeff?
Mike, is this from our buddy Diet Donut? Is that the one with the Mahomes question?
From Eric. This is
okay. Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, again, I said it last night. I said Burrow last night, but talked myself out of it this morning. I just like Stroud's matchup, so I'd go Stroud. Although I don't like helping Eric.
That means his last name.
Yep, and I can't sway on mine. I think, like I said, it's Burrow by a hair. I don't think you're going to really be gone, or I don't think either one of these guys are going to throw you guys off at all as far as it goes. But Jordan Love, I don't think is the guy there for sure. The last one we got Amari Cooper, Deontay Johnson, Cortland Sutton, or Tyler Lockett. Jeff.
Joe, again, Lockett's status is what, Joe?
Questionable.
Okay. I'd tell you, that's an interesting one. So Sutton, I think, has been a great option, but tough defense, tough environment to play in with the snow today. So it leaves you with Amari Cooper and Deontay Johnson. I'd say Cooper just because he's the top option there in Cleveland. Deontay Johnson has been halfway decent, but Cooper has a better opportunity.
So
I think it's gonna be Cooper
this is
week.
great, Mike. Real quick.
I think it's going to be Cooper for me too, just because I always say I hate Amari Cooper, right? But if I've got a couple of weeks in a row where he's been a dud, and now I've been seeing a little bit more target share with PJ Walker out there, I'm leaning on Amari Cooper today too. Cortland Sutton's going to get smashed in the snow. Tyler Lockett questionable. It makes me upgrade JSN. I do like Deontay Johnson a lot today too, though, but it's Amari Cooper by an edge.
So this is really effed up, Mikey, but this was full transparency here at Triple Play Fantasy. This was my question for my big league in which I am playing Mr. 2 tickets to fantasy, Jeffrey Allen Mesha. So I just got some good Jeff analysis to use against him.
That is awesome.
Which I need because I had Evans, Godwin, and White, and I started Evans, and he scored the least out of the 3 on Thursday night.
That's awesome. Got advice from his enemy, man. That's a power move right there. Power move right there. With that, guys, we are out of questions. So, guys, do you have anything you want to add before we go ahead and clock out for the day, boys?
I think we're good. Looking forward to it. I'm glad we switched up the time a little bit. I think it gives the opportunity of some people to check in a little bit more than starting earlier. So I'm glad to hear everybody chiming in this morning and looking forward to a great day of football.
Excellent. Completely agree with that. And with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and say goodbye. We will be back, same bat time, same bat channel next week. Again, make sure you follow us and you're on that Twitter, on that YouTube, all that fun stuff, following us, because we also have a show on Saturday nights. It's a DFS Chalk Talk. We're going to be cashing it in today, guys. So hopefully you're tailing along. Hopefully you're having fun. Hopefully you're joining us. And thank you guys